Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session. Today's February 28th, Sunday, and in class, we had two sessions. The first session, we covered the last stanzas for the Names by Billy Collins, which is our poem that we're working on. I'm going to share the screen with you, and I'm going to discuss with you guys what we discussed in class regarding the poem. All right. We started with stanza number 4, and we said the stanza right here is dedicated to. Basically, Billy Collins is describing how the families of the victims reacted to not finding or the missing bodies of the people that died in 9/11. Remember, not all the bodies were able to were found because it was a big chaotic mess. Okay, the rubbles and some bodies were severely burned. Some bodies were just hidden under all this mess and destruction that they couldn't find them. All right, so here he goes into. If you guys look at line number 19, a name under a photograph taped to a mailbox, a monogram on a torn shirt. Okay, so basically, a monogram is the initials of the victims made into a design and printed on shirts. Pictures of the victims that were unfound were mailed to mailboxes. Their names and their pictures and images were placed on storefronts, on windows of store windows, as a way of um, announcing that these people are not were not found, and to suggest people to search for them. So again, this is the way. Then he picks up the again the alphabet with Kelly, Lee, Medina, Nardella, and O'Connor. Again, the alphabet is used here in a metaphorical way of each letter is representing a name of a victim. Okay. The next stanza, which is stanza number 5, we go into the idea of again the letters are hidden, and when he says letters hidden, he's talking about the victims, the bodies of the victims hidden under a tangle. Okay, the destruction and the mess when the twin towers were collapsed and the bombing and the attack occurred. He is comparing the search for the victims or the bodies of the victims to a puzzle made for children. Okay, and again here it's to show that the search was difficult and not successful. Okay, not in all times it was successful, just like a child would struggle with a puzzle. All right. Again, twigs of an ash, referring to how the bodies were burnt. Remember when the planes crashed into to the twin towers or the World Trade Center? It resulted in a bombing. Okay, fire, explosion. So a lot of bodies were even burnt. We see he picks up again in line 30 the alphabet from the letter R to letter U. The next stanza, he moves into the woods. It gives us a little mood of mystery, okay, uh, and again, adding to the mystery of the unknown victims. Our next stanza here, he says, names written in the pale sky. And in this stanza specifically, we realize that the sentences or the lines of each of the stanza are short. They're way shorter than the lines of the other stanzas. Okay, specifically, I need to focus on line 34 to 35. Names silent in stone or cried out behind the door. If we look at this line, we see that Billy Collins decided to split it into or break it into two lines instead of just one. Okay, and we see that line 35 is the continuation of line 34. So question here is, why did he split it into two lines instead of just making it one long line? And the answer to this question is because he is trying to emphasize two different emotions. Okay, silent and cried out. Okay, here we see opposite emotions. When he says name silence and stone and he pauses because the line has ended, kind of gives the effect of silence. Okay, like a way to honor the victims. All right. Then we move on to the next stanza, and we see here that we're in the evening. Remember, the poem starts out at night, it moves into morning, then finally evening. Evening here, again, he discusses the weakening light. Again, the sun is going down. Again, adding more of a gloomy mood. Okay, a mood of sadness. And he says that basically the last swallows. That means here the victims are, they're facing their fate of dying. All right. A woman by a window puts a match to a candle. Again, this is a way of remembering and honoring the victims. People get together and they light candles. They gather, hold each other, hug each other as support, and they light candles to as a way to remembering and comforting each other. Okay. Then he says Vanacore and Wallace. Again, here we see that the letters are ending. We're reaching the ending of the alphabet. The only letter that he does not dedicate a name to is the letter X. He says, let X stand, if it can, for the ones unfound. All right, so on the quiz, I can ask you from A to Z, he dedicates a name for each letter. What is the only letter that does not get a name? Which is the letter X. He uses it just the way that you would use it in mathematics or when you're solving an algebraic expression, when you're solving for X. Let X stand for the victims that we cannot find, those victims that their bodies were never, found. Okay. Then we move to Young and Zeminski. Again, the letter Y and Z, marking the ending of the alphabet. Then finally, line number 46, he says, a blue name needled into the skin. Again, their name tattooed on your skin. Okay, especially that tattoos are permanent. Okay, our final stanza: names of citizens, workers, mothers, fathers, daughters, and sons. So basically, here Billy Collins is trying to show the alphabet of names in green rows in a field. Green rows in a field, names in rows. He's kind of making us visualize a place of burial, like a cemetery where the dead bodies were basically buried in rows. Okay, names lifted from a hat, names wheeled into the dim warehouse of memory. Basically that the victims are now gone. That the number of victims were I had already posted a study guide for you for stanzas number 1 to 4, and we answered that already together. So now